state. And right now, we're educating some people better than others, and that's a sad thing. And I think we now have an Office of Diversity, which we didn't have when I first got here, and I think there are heartfelt and genuine attempts to try to make that better. But at this point, I don't think anyone would say with a straight face that we're doing a great job in that department.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any ideas on how the College of Charleston could better represent African Americans?
Well, an easy idea, we're just now getting into local high schools like Burke. We could be doing that in North Charleston and other schools in the area as well, just to give people, to plant that seed that, you know, I could go to college someday, I could do this, I'm smart enough, I can try hard enough, I can do this too. This isn't just for other people to go. So for example, there's Dr. Consuelo Francis has a program with Burke, getting the students there to do writing, creative writing and personal reflection kind of writing. And so they're making connections between college students here on campus and students who not only are in the state, but are right here in the city, and getting them to come to campus to feel like they could be a part of this campus. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think if you can get kids when they're in junior high, high school, maybe even elementary school, and bring them in here, some sort of shadowing or mentoring type program, I think that's a great thing. Also, one thing that I've done recently is I was a mentor for an academic magnet student, and I supervised her senior thesis. She ended up going to USC, but I tried to get her to come here to the College of Charleston, and she was an African American student, very talented, and it was a pleasure working with her. So we lost one to the Gamecocks.
Did you help her?
She wrote this lovely paper on different theories and how parenting influences children, and so she did some Freudian theories, she went into Erikson theories, and she came to me and I said, well, I have some data to test some of these ideas. For example, if your parents, either one of your parents has alcoholism, how does that affect the kids? And she would, so she actually got to test some data based on college students just to see if her ideas were supported, and most of them were. That, you know, when families are chaotic or when parents are alcoholic, it's a bad scene for the kids, and they have a tougher time growing up healthy and strong and not depressed.
Okay, and has any of your students said anything about prejudice on College of Charleston?
Well, that's an interesting question, because in my personality class we talk about that in a chapter at the end of the semester, and we had an email discussion partly for points toward their participation grade, and they got to, amongst other things, express whether or not they've seen any prejudice here on campus. And some students saw very little. Some students said that they saw less than what they were used to back home, wherever back home was. And some students said that they saw more here. And it's interesting because it didn't always break down neatly by ethnicity. So I had some Caucasian students saying, oh my gosh, there's so much prejudice on this campus, so much more than what I'm used to back home. And then I had lots of Caucasian students saying, no, I don't see it. What are you talking about? Just kind of oblivious. It doesn't affect them personally. And then I would say probably a greater percentage of the African American students are saying, well, yeah, I've seen it, I've felt it, I'm aware of it, it's here. And then we also got into other forms of prejudice as well. One student said that the college was doing a pretty good job and not having too much prejudice toward African Americans, but could do better. But this student felt like the college was doing great in terms of acceptance of homosexuality, and that compared to back home, students here who are gay and lesbian are much more accepted and treated with more respect. So it also depends on what kind of prejudice you're talking about. Although ethnicity is one of the biggest issues we still have to face, especially with the recent election, and wondering if maybe some people wouldn't vote for Obama just because he's black, or maybe some people would vote for him only because he's black. And also the backlash. There has been some reports on some college campuses about prejudice like hate crime kinds of things. Some upset students, presumably white students, who are upset at the thought of having our next national leader be part African American. Yeah. So I think we can do that over there. So some students have mentioned that they think that there's been prejudice on campus or in town, and other students are less aware of it. Also, I had a group of students in my psychology lab, my social psychology lab last semester, dress up either in fine business attire or very casual sweats. And we had an African American woman and a Caucasian woman, student, dressing up different ways and going downtown, and seeing how long it took for someone in the stores to say, "Can I help you?" in the retail stores. And let me see if I get the results right. I think dressing up made a difference for African American student, but not so much for the Caucasian student. So that when she was dressed in sweatpants, it took forever for someone to say, "Can I help you?" She was just kind of ignored. But when she was dressed really nice, people came and were attentive to her. The retail employees on King Street. So yeah, so that's like community as opposed to just campus. Yeah, very interesting. It's more subtle, perhaps, forms of prejudice.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I guess that concludes our interview.
Now we'll be interviewing Michelle Cooper. She's a junior at the College of Charleston. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hey, nice for you to have this interview with me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you think that African American students are represented on the College of Charleston campus? If so, on a scale of 1 to 10, how represented are we? 1 being the lowest.
No, not at all. 1%. Like from like 1 to 10 point.
Okay. What do you think the college could do to better represent African Americans on this campus?
They could possibly target minorities in minority districts and school districts, along mainly like the corridor chain I-95.
Have you experienced any prejudice, or has anybody talked to you about experiencing prejudice on the College of Charleston campus?
I've never experienced racism on a first-hand basis, but I do see a lot of close-mindedness and a lot of ignorance on campus.
After the announcement of President-elect Obama, did you notice any prejudice or discrimination, or did anybody tell you about what happened to them, if anything happened?
I would say that yes, because no one talked about it. It was as if it was a secret, as if it didn't happen, because we didn't talk about it after the election.
Really? Thank you, Michelle.
No problem.
By interviewing both students and faculty, we have concluded that African Americans are not represented on the College of Charleston campus. Ways to improve this problem is to improve the current organizations, make more of an effort to notify and get African Americans involved on campus, establish more African American organizations, and reach out to the African American community.